host, Maren Carlson. The United States of America has often been described as the land of the free and the land of opportunity. Not only do these phrases positively describe America, they also show some of America's core beliefs: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These ideas are based off of Enlightenment ideas, but now these ideals are upheld by the American precedent.
You simply cannot deny that after World War II, the United States is one of the two major world powers, and I certainly argue has been a major world power. You can argue the ranking, but ever since.
That was Mr. Timothy Moore, an AP United States history teacher. Even before 1945, America was revolutionary for including certain unalienable rights in the Constitution, which Ms. Lopez, an AP government teacher and our next interviewee, calls the Beyoncé of political documents.
So right after it was adopted, there was a bunch of countries like France that took inspiration, especially during the French Revolution. Their declarations of rights of man shares a lot of ideals alongside or in comparison with our Bill of Rights.
Ms. Lopez is right. The French Revolution took place only 6 years after the American Revolution, and the American influences are clear in the Declaration of the Rights of Man. Mr. Moore says that the French Revolution goals were very similar to that of the American Revolution, which were to bring Enlightenment ideas to both countries.
By the 19th century, you have a lot of Latin countries such as Mexico, Colombia, Argentina, also modeled parts of their constitution on ours.
Argentina, in particular, has a really fascinating tie to the American Revolution. The Argentinian Constitution of 1853 resembles American documents almost exactly. Some of the opening line of the Constitution of 1853 is, "We, the representatives of the people of the Argentine nation." Does that classic line sound familiar to anyone else? So not only do other countries take general ideas, in today's world, that's blatant plagiarism. So even from the beginning, America has had an incredible amount of influence over other countries.
In a little bit more modern times, things like the formation of NATO in 1949, and of course NATO is still around, shows American influences because these were democracies, or at least governments favoring democracies, that basically agreed to a military alliance, that if one is attacked, the other will at least come to financial aid, and perhaps even more so for all of the rest. And NATO has been around since 1949 and is still around, and certainly shows at least American governmental influence.
NATO is the largest peacetime military alliance in the world with 32 countries. Not only did America begin NATO, but the only time that NATO's Article 5 was invoked was to come help America.
Well, there's been a lot of examples where we've influenced countries in modern times. The first thing I think of is after 9/11, where countries had to help us out to attack Afghanistan because of Article 5 of the NATO agreement. However, they did not have to help us out when we attacked Iraq for the same reason.
That was Mr. Dan Carlson, a former international relations and government teacher. President Bush found the coalition of the willing, who helped America for no other reason than the American influence. So it's clear that America has had a lot of influence throughout American history and throughout the globe. This poses the question, with the new Trump administration, what influences will there be on the world? One of the main topics of conversation around President Trump's second terms are his tariffs, which he claims to be reciprocal. This following clip was from the Rose Garden press conference and the Make America Wealthy Again event.
Canada, by the way, imposes a 250 to 300% tariff on many of our dairy products. They do the first can of milk. They do the first little carton of milk at a very low price, but after that it gets bad, and then it gets up to 275, 300%.
However, these tariffs President Trump mentioned are only levied if the exports exceed a predetermined quota. Chuck Nicholson, an associate professor in the Department of Agriculture and Applied Economics, says that there are two types of tariffs: tariff rate quotas, or TRQs, and over-quota tariffs. TRQs indicate an amount of product that can enter at a low tariff, or in the case of concentrated milk, no tariff. There is an over-quota tariff of roughly 300% if the amount of milk is over 2,587,000 kilograms, according to the Government of Canada's concentrated milk tariff rate quota. Canada has never even come close to importing that much American concentrated milk. So these tariffs that Trump claims to be reciprocal are the first in the line of tariffs. and the genuine reciprocal tariffs, such as China and the EU's tariffs on our goods, show direct American influence. Ms. Lopez claims, however, influence goes both ways.
I think historically the United States serves as kind of a constitutional role model. In countries where democratic institutions are strong, it might actually serve as a cautionary tale, like, for example, why checks and balances are so important. But in nations where democracy is still developing or vulnerable, it could embolden leaders to centralize their power, discredit institutions, or erode trust in the electoral process, under the guise of, quote-unquote, well, even the United States does it.
Ms. Lopez brings up a very interesting point about a cautionary tale. Stronger democracies might be influenced against what America is doing, which would be a first in American history. This can be seen in the recent Canadian elections. For context, in December of 2024, President Trump said that Canada should join America as the 51st state. However, the statement was largely taken as a joke. According to the Washington Post, on January 7th, President Trump repeated his prior statement, and this time it was taken very seriously. Former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said, and I quote, "There isn't a snowball's chance in hell," end quote, that Canada would join America. This was clearly represented in the Canadian constituents. According to the CBC, on January 6th, only one day before Trump's 51st state comment, the Conservative Party, which aligned most closely with Trump, had a 43.2% popularity, and the Liberal Party had a 21.6% popularity. The next day, immediately after Trump's comment, the Liberal Party had a major spike, and by Election Day, which was April 28th, the Liberal Party was polling at 42.8% popularity, and the Conservative Party at 39.2% popularity. Trump's comment and the Liberal Party's spike to the majority was not exclusive, as the NBC found multiple conservative Canadians who voted against the Maple MAGA movement and Pierre Poilievre and decided to cast their vote for Mark Carney, the Liberal Party candidate and now the Prime Minister. However, countries who depend more on America could fall in line with American influence. Argentina, for example, pulled out of the WHO only a month before President Trump did, according to CNN. Not only that, but Argentina has also been tightening their border, much like President Trump. So what does this mean? Ms. Lopez says that since all of President Trump's actions are unprecedented, it's hard to tell. This means that there are no previous examples to show what could happen. According to NPR, over 500 political scientists believe that the United States of America is heading towards authoritarianism, which is concerning to say the least. But again, it's all unprecedented, and we simply don't know what will happen. Regardless of the circumstances, the United States precedent is that America will persevere. Signing off, it's your host, Maren Carlson.